Hi, just a quick heads up about this video. The audio device that was recording our voices unfortunately had a glitch and did not function correctly, but we did have other devices there in the room that were recording sound, so we have the audio, although it's not the quality that you're probably used to, so my apologies for that. Also, this was shot at the end of a long, hot, muggy, humid day. It was raining while we were loading gear in and out, and you can probably tell it's not as refined as some of our videos are. We committed the cardinal sin of talking while the organ was playing at the same time. So I do hope you'll forgive those mistakes. This is a very interesting organ, and Doug McNell was very generous with his time and his expertise in showing us the organ and demonstrating it for us. So I do hope you'll power through. We did a good job of capturing the sound of the organ. That's very authentic, so I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Brent Johnson, and today we are in Madison, Wisconsin still, and we are at Covenant Presbyterian Church. With me is Doug McNell, and you are the organist here at Covenant?
That's right.
All right, and how long have you been playing this organ?
19 years.
19, so you're very familiar with this instrument. Tell us what we're looking at.
So this is a Schoenstein instrument. It was built in 1997. And so I'm the third organist. The person who was in charge of the building or in charge of the design of the instrument was Sam Hutchinson, who was organist at the Overture Center here in Madison. So this is a 3-manual instrument, but with 6 divisions actually. So
I was going to ask you about that. There's more stuff than you have keys and pedals for. You have
That's
quite
right.
the array of shoes down there. That
Yes.
tells me there's more going on here than meets the eye. So what divisions do we have?
So, and actually I misspoke, there are 7 divisions on this, 7 divisions on this instrument. So there's a swell organ, and there is a box within the swell called the celestial division. So one can actually operate a set of swell shades within the swell, so you get 2 levels of expression, which is fantastic. So there is some of the big reeds, cornopian, and a big mixture that are within a separate box. What it allows you to do is close that box so you get a very different color. So the mixture is sort of not deadened, but it's much less brilliant, and it works much nicer for some types of music to have that capability.
We actually just saw that recently on the Schoenstein organ, where it's a box within a box, and the loudest and the softest stops were in that second box.
And that's what he did on the ethereal division, which is a division within the solo. The lower manual couples as both, or doubles as both the choir manual and the solo manual.
Okay. Well, and that organ we saw, they just didn't have different names. There was just the swell, and the organist had to know what was inside and what was out.
Exactly.
This might be easier for trying to remember what's where if it's a completely different division.
So in this one, the loudest stop, the big tuba, is in that, as well as the softest Erzähler, or Voix Celeste Voix, is in there as well. And so, yeah, exactly. You can deaden it to almost imperceptible levels.
Well, let's hear some of it. First of all, everything is behind grills and chambers. We don't have any exposed pipes. How are the chambers laid out from where we're sitting here?
So the great chamber is up above there.
Okay. So on the left side is the
Left side.
congregation's looking.
And below it is the solo.
Okay.
And the ethereal division, which speaks into the solo, is right behind it. And then the choir division is up there. And the pedal division is behind. Most of the pedal stops are borrowed from different, but there are a few independent pedal stops. And then the solo is over there. And right behind the solo is the celestial division, which speaks into the swell. I'm sorry, I think I said solo, but the swell division is there. And then
Okay. All right. Well, let's start with the grate and see what kind of stops we've got in there and what they sound like.
so the 8-foot principal, or the 8-foot diapason on the with the 4-foot. Highlight is that everything is under expression, including the grade. So it's a little bit. That's a little bit unusual. With the 2-foot. Practical as a church organist to have everything with a mixture. One thing I should highlight is that everything is under expression, including the grate. So it's that's a little bit unusual. It's very practical as a church organist to have everything. So in the grate there's a and soften things a bit.
Yeah,
so
it's nice to have that kind of control.
Yep, exactly.
I should note the mixture, it doesn't just say 4 ranks, it actually gives you the octave interval numbers, the 19th, the 22nd, the 26th, the 29th. So you know
Right.
how that compares to the other stops you're bringing it on with. So you know it goes from 2 foot, and then the 19th would be the next step above. So good, I like that. So what flutes do we have then in there? So in the great division.
So in the grate there is a Liebligedeckt. With a 4 foot. Interestingly borrowed onto the swell, so which is a little bit unusual to have great stops playing from the swell, but it actually is pretty convenient at times.
Is that the same rank
It's
borrowed?
the same rank borrowed,
But they both say leave liquid down.
right? So there is also a corno dolce and a celeste or a flute celeste that's celeste with that as well. So that's and it's also interestingly borrowed onto the swell.
Oh.
So, which is a little bit unusual to have great stops playing from the swell, but it actually is pretty convenient at times. With a it's celeste. And there's also a harmonic flute on the grate, so the big flute.
That's very gentle compared
is.
to some of the more recent Schoenstein harmonic flutes I've heard, which are actually big, bold, almost competing with the principal. And that one's a little more gentle. It hadn't quite found where it was going.
Yep, it is. There is a concert flute, which is also on the solo, which
So that's much bigger,
provides
but
that,
yeah, but that's
provides that.
Okay.
And again, so for your French sounds.
You got 2 big flutes there, just one much bigger than the other.
Right, exactly.
And then there are some stops there, some reed stops, but they're all borrowed from other divisions. I do see some percussions in this division. Those also borrowed from another division, but let's go ahead and talk about them. Are there actual real percussions in this?
They're digital.
Okay, so we have a digital harp and celeste.
The digital harp and celeste.
Nice.
And the celeste is the top of that. And the chimes are actually digital.
Well, let's come over here to this side, to the swell, since you mentioned it, and tell me what we've got in the swell.
So the flute foundation, there's an 8-foot flute. 4 foot. With a 2 foot. And with a mixture.
That's a bright mixture up there. And this one actually does say 2 foot 15, so we're doubling the 2 foot, so it gets more of that, that upper top of it there. So good. All right.
And there is a open diapason. Gems, which is a little bit bright, somewhere between a Gems and a Prestant. Adds a little bit of brilliance, and it nicely blends with either the principal or with the flute.
Give us one by itself, just to see what.
So there is a
That's almost more of a principal sound than
Right,
than
exactly.
this one. So
Yep.
yeah, it works well with the principal. Okay.
Yep, I probably would have thought it was a Preston.
Right, yeah. Just a small scale principal. Okay. So you can use that with either the Borden or the open diapason.
Exactly.
All right. And then our 2 foot's just called a flageolet, correct? So
Right.
it's a fluty thing. All right. What about our strings?
So this instrument has a lot of strings. So there is a gamba on the swell.
And then from there, that's all our flute pipes. We have some reeds in this division.
Right. So an oboe.
Very nice.
Yeah.
It's a small oboe, but it's very clear. That's the
And the trumpet, the cornopian.
okay.
And there's a 16-foot oboe, contraffigato. Also, there's a box. So the box is in its own box inside the celestial, which is a box inside the swell. So it's the box, the box, the box, the box.
Hey, nice. And a tremolo for those division, for all those stops in the division. And then we have our sub and super couplers. And then another stop that it's just I've never heard it called that. Nominal pitch off.
That's a unison off.
It's a unison off, but they
It's
decided
not pitch
unison wasn't clear enough or something. I don't.
Exactly. Also, there's a vox.
Oh,
So
we have
the
a vox,
vox is in its own box
Okay.
inside the celestial, which is a box inside the swell. So
Wow.
it's the box in a box in a box in a box.
Now, can you actually control that inner box, or is it just
You can't
to keep
control
it
the inner
distant?
one,
Okay,
but-
so it's just a soft box and two boxes. I get it. Let's hear that.
But actually, it. So you can bring the.
You can really make it go away.
Yep.
All right.
I
Well,
should have had the trembling on with that, so it's a little bit more. More obvious.
yeah. All right. And then we have our choir / solo division over there.
Right.
They're both I see two different cancels, but they're all just in one. Or is that an
That's
actual
right.
dividing line that's just missing between?
There's
them?
sort of a dividing
Okay.
line. This is a more of a challenge to get used to, I think, for organists until you get to know the instrument, because both the choir and the solo are kind of blended here. Both are on the lower manual, but the couplers control separately the choir and the solo.
And you have a sub and super coupler for all of those stops
Yes.
in the two divisions on one manual. So
Yes.
yeah, I can see how that would be a little confusing.
Right. Yep, exactly.
Let's start with the choir stops then. I see stop diapason.
So yes, a stop diapason, flute. With its 4-foot.
That 4-foot is a chimney flute.
Chimney flute. There's the 2-foot harmonic piccolo. There are actually two 2 2/3, a Nazard and a 12th. So one's more of a flute sound, one's a little bit more principal sound.
I see. That was the Nazard, the flutier one. So,
Right.
yeah.
And then a few other mutations on top. There's a tierce, which is nice with its with a 8-foot. And 19th, another mutation on top. One can form a cornet. Oops. Sort of a
Yes, you
flute
can
cornet.
mix and match any of those sounds. that
Exactly.
you want to be part of.
Exactly.
Very nice. All right, we have strings over there, I see.
Yep. So there's a solitional. And 4-foot and 2-foot are actually all borrowings of that.
the 16-foot also
That's also
from the
borrowed.
same stop?
Yep.
So, yeah.
And then there's an Undamaris tuned flat to the celestial.
Okay, yeah, it's a big Morrison solution.
Yep.
So you can close all that down
Exactly.
as you need it. Very nice. Okay, and then we have a reed. You see,
Right. So clarinet, and the clarinet is borrowed to the great if
Okay.
if one needs it.
There.
But yeah, it's from.
Nice big bold clarinet though.
Yep.
That's really good.
As a solo stop.
Okay, those are all of our choir stops. So let's go over to the solo now, which is right next to it. And
Yep.
tell me what we've got in there, starting on with that gamba. It's a big-
So there is a big string gamba. The bacon
Yeah.
sizzling the gamba.
That's pretty skinny.
It's very skinny, and a celeste to go with.
Yeah, it's a small, but big, loud,
Yes.
small scale string. So
Yep,
good. Nice to have
exactly.
that. It's a good contrast to the
Yep,
others.
exactly. And the positioning of the solo right at the front of all of the speaks directly into the congregation, so it's really nice. It speaks into the chancel.
Let's keep going.
There is, we already mentioned the large concert flute. And so within the, there's also the, in addition to the big strings, are the small strings. So there's a voix celeste and its celesting partner. And then a 4-foot that's just basically the octave. It's just the same. And this is the smallest stop on the organ, which it's within its own box, so it can be shut down to almost nothing.
So that's in the ethereal box, which is
Right.
behind the solo box. And I misspoke earlier. You do have super and sub couplers for just the solo. I just
Correct.
didn't see them because they're buried down
They're
there.
here, yeah, there are, yeah,
So
exactly.
okay.
And then there are 2 other reeds on the solo. There's a French horn.
There.
And an English horn. So,
Lovely solo stops there.
yeah, that's one of the things about this instrument. It's got so many wonderful reed colors that are very different. The English horn compared with the clarinet. I mean, they're similar characters, but very
Still,
different colors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
choices even if it's just to make something different.
Right.
And then we have one more big reed in there. Correct?
One more big reed. So a tuba that's doubled at 16 foot and also at 4 foot, and it's duplicated on the grate as well. So this one, the stop does not couple, which is kind of a clever design, but it's again something that organists have to get used to. So if you try to couple it to the grate, it won't. Which is nice because as the organist, it's nice to be able to grab a horn and know that it's not going to come
Right.
blasting out anywhere else accidentally.
It's good to know, yeah.
But so this is the. So that's like I say, the big solo
It's a
stop.
big too. Yeah, it's available at
16, 8, and 4. So, yep.
Very nice.
The nice thing about that again is that it can solo above most of the rest of the organ, but very cleverly it's within the ethereal division, so you can close the box, and by having the box closed, it forms this chorus reed. So if it's just playing on, sort of overpowers the great principal
Yeah,
chorus.
yeah.
But if you have the ethereal box closed,
You can barely hear it when
yeah,
it's in there. It
yeah,
just adds that
exactly.
little- that
Yeah,
rumble.
it adds a little rumble, but
Yeah.
can have to 16, 8, and 4 and have it blend as a chorus reed by doing that. Yeah.
Okay.
So again, kind of clever in the design.
Yeah. Well, you said most of the pedal stops were borrowed, but we do have some independent stops. What do we have here in the pedal?
So there's a 16-foot open wood.
And that's what's behind us.
That's behind the grill, yep. As well as the 4-foot version of that same pipe. I believe it's the same. Yep. Yep. So that's, and the 15th, which is an octave above that. That's all one rank of pipes. And there's also a sub-bass or sub-bass. So. But it was actually nicely done again with the borrowings, because it just gives you a much greater range of balance with the instrument. So there's several 16-foot instruments. A swell Borden borrowed from the swell, celestial borrowed from the choir, corna dolce borrowed from the grate. So it's very nice to actually have those different flavors of 16. So one has actually 5 foundational 16-foot stops.
Yeah, that's
it's
great.
Kind of nice.
Okay. And we have 32s in there.
There are 32s, and you'll notice that we don't have 32-foot high ceilings, or even so. Those are digital, but pretty good. Pretty good sound.
Pretty much all of your reeds, then your solo reeds. Not every single reed, but the big trumpets and your tuba are all available there at the top of the pedal as well, so you can bring into those. Very nice. Well, we've talked about the stops, but there's still more to talk about on this organ, because there's all the ways you can use all of these things to make it play, and the things that the organist here needs to know to make this instrument work. First of all, talk about this little control panel that I'm seeing up here on the left.
So, I mentioned that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 divisions, and the pedal's not included in there. So those are the different divisions, and then across are the individual swell shoes. So if left alone, the swell shoes are grate, choir, swell, solo, and then a crescendo pedal. But you can change the assignment of the swell shoes by pushing that, and then you can have it set up things differently. So you could have all of the swell shoes opening with one pedal if you wanted. So, for example, you could have the swell shoe in the middle activating everything.
And that's the only shoe that can.
That's the only
That's
one.
the only one that can have all
that.
of these. So the others have limited options, but you can at least pick and choose
Right.
how you want that to work. So that's interesting.
So what I will typically do is, let's see, I set it up so that they stay the same, but instead of, I myself rarely use the crescendo pedal, but I have it set up so that it operates the celestial and the ethereal divisions,
I see.
so that I have an independent swell shoe for that.
So when that's on, there's no longer a crescendo pedal.
Correct.
So you have to
Yep.
remember which one you got.
Exactly, right. Yeah.
Does this set on a general piston, or can you? So you have to remember.
You have to remember to press it. Yep.
Okay.
So that most guest organists come by and I try to explain it and they say, nope, not using it. Just leave it alone. That's fine. It'll work fine without it.
Very nice. So, well, and when it's in its normal mode, and if you open, say, the solo box, does the solo and ethereal boxes open together? Does it operate both of them?
Actually, they're
designed. Did you tell me it was designed differently?
it's actually a little bit different.
Okay.
So, for example, they're partly open, but they can open more. So you actually have a little wider range of control.
Okay.
So under normal operation, that's as loud as the swell trumpet is,
Oh.
and it's fine balance-wise with the rest of the instrument.
But if you assign that box to a shoe, then you could open it more.
Or since it's in the separate division, I can have that extra box closed
Close it
and
down
it's
more.
close it down. It will close down more. So I can close it down quite a bit. Or I can actually have it louder than it normally is.
That gives you a lot of control, but that must take some time to get used to.
Correct.
and learning how to
Correct.
operate this thing.
Yep, yep.
All right, well,
But that's part of the fun. I've been here 19 years and I still am not bored with the instrument, so there's always things to try. Yep.
I also noticed that the crescendo thing over there, this is a different type of indicator than I've seen before.
You've not seen a rotonunciator?
I've not, no. This is
So,
new.
to be honest, this is the general combination action, so different memory levels.
Oh, I see.
And then this is one can set up different crescendo
I
pedals,
see.
so you can have it assigned. You can reassign what comes on with the crescendo pedal,
Okay.
and so you have 16 different levels of crescendo
I
pedals.
see. And that's set through, I assume, that panel that's underneath.
Yep. So there is a panel here that one can use for setting the crescendo, and
Very
yep,
nice.
yeah.
So a very versatile instrument with a whole lot of control over everything.
Yes.
Very nice.
So to get into the organ, we have to move some chairs out of the way. Access into the organ chambers is hidden behind and amongst the grillwork for the organ.
So this this speaks into the solo, and so we're just sort of describing that there are swell shades that speak into another chamber, and then the swell shades for the solo are there speaking out.
And then there's another door for that chamber?
Yep, there's another door
Okay.
for that one.
This is our ethereal division here. We're speaking through the solo out to the congregation. We have the big hooded tuba here, as well as a pair of soft strings. The choir is above us, and access to the choir is via a trapdoor in the walkboard above.
So this is the choir division. So the clarinet, these are the strings with a 16-foot overflow.
Pneumatic slow motors.
Yep, solitional clarinet. And then the rest of the solitional. And then the flute division, mostly over here. Stop flute, harmonic, the 4-foot flute and the 2-foot flute, stop bagpipes. Una Maris is physically separated from the other one. And then this opens. So again, the choir division speaks out into the chancel. I should have left the swell shades open, but that speaks out into the chancel. And then this is the great division. So this also speaks out. This is above the solo.
The choir division is very densely packed, but everything is easily accessible. You can move around easily and get to everything.
One thing I should have pointed out on the tuba downstairs is that Jack Bethards was a fan of some of the Willis techniques of hooding the reeds. For a couple of reasons. One, it gives a little bit different character to the sound, and it keeps the dust out of the reeds. So it's a very good technique from the 19th century that he continued.
This is for going down to these.
Oh, yeah, that's just for tuning, yeah.
Yep.
Mhm. And
There's a view underneath the ethereal division. These are. Now we're going back to look at the pedal.
so just reservoir, that's in the space for the reservoir. So most of the relay system for the organ. And the pedals above us. The Walker digital.
That digital unit handles all of the digital stops, the harp, chimes, and the pedal stops. The speakers are buried throughout this area. Once again, we go up into the pedal division by going through a trapdoor in the walkboard. And once we're up there, we see the stopped bass as well as the open, which is down on the other end. Very large scale, big open pipes. Now we're going back out into the chancel, and this is how we get into the solo division. The English horn has been very conveniently placed right at the front. Doug says that's the one that needs the most attention, so it's easy to get to right here, but unfortunately the French horn has been placed much farther back on the chest. However, he says that one rarely needs attention, so it's okay that it's harder to get to back there in the middle. Now to get into the other side, we come across the chancel, and here there's a door, and a ladder takes us up into the chamber. And we come up, and we're at the bottom of the celestial division. This is the one that speaks into the swell. And the Vox Humana is right behind us as we come in. There's a little peek into that box.
So this is the let's see, celestial division. It's got the trumpet. This is a 16-foot reed, 8-foot reed, and the rest of the oboe stop, and then a mixture over there. So the mixture. I don't remember how this works. This has to.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
Once we go through the sliding swell shades there, we are in the swell, which is very packed full. This division makes use of Haskelled basses. Schoenstein uses those a lot throughout the organ. It's a way to accommodate 8-foot pipes, especially strings, when you don't have the full height you need. Here's a look underneath. You can go from the celestial division all the way under to the swell. So thank you, Doug, for showing us this wonderful Schoenstein organ from 1997. It's a fantastic job. Great listening to you play it and demonstrate the stops. And I assume if somebody wants to come hear this instrument?
They're absolutely welcome. The instrument's meant to be played, and I'm happy to happy to have people try it out.
Wonderful. Well, if you're interested in hearing this organ or coming to play it, contact the church office. We'll put their website down in the description. Also down there, you can find a link to the specification in the organ and to Schoenstein organs. Schoenstein, of course, is a member builder of APOBA, the Associated Pipe Organ Builders of America. They're a sponsor of the Organ Media Foundation and help us get out to make videos like these. If you would like to have a great instrument like this one or want your instrument updated or anything, we recommend APOBA Builders. You can find their website and their list of member builders at apoba.com. We also want to thank our sponsors who help make videos like these possible. We have more videos coming out from Madison. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel and click the notification bell so you know when new videos come out, hopefully each Sunday for the next few weeks. Until then, you know where to find streaming classical organ music 24 hours a day on our 3 stations, OrganLive.com, Positively Baroque, and The Organ Experience. Thank you to all of our sponsors who make these videos possible. We couldn't do it without you. Until next week, I'm Brent Johnson. Bye-bye.